Let's build our first BrightAuthor project. In previous training modules, I've discussed how to download and install BrightAuthor. If you don't already have it installed on your machine, you should review those topics. I assume going forward that BrightAuthor is installed and ready to use. I have here on my desktop a few image and video files that I've gathered in preparation for today's work. A handful of short video files, movie trailers that I've downloaded from the internet, and some still image files, pictures that I've taken myself here around the San Francisco Bay Area. I'll use these in this first few simple projects that we build. So these are in a folder called Assets sitting on my desktop. I'll begin BrightAuthor, and BrightAuthor will immediately drop us into kind of an empty project to begin with. It carries over from the last project you built a handful of settings, but rather than accepting these, we will begin a new presentation. From the File menu, choose New Presentation, and BrightAuthor will ask you for a name. We'll call this Training 1, and a location to save it. Let's save it in the same folder on my desktop called Assets, so everything will be together. So a project called Training 1, and it will be saved on my desktop in a folder called Assets. BrightAuthor also needs to know what player type you intend to target. This is an important decision because BrightAuthor will put up guardrails to prevent you attempting to use features that your player might not support. So for example, if I choose, as I'm going to here, an HD 1020, then BrightAuthor won't let me do things that only an XD player can do. There's a rule of thumb: you can publish up, but you can't publish down. A project for a 1020 will run just fine on an XD player, but a project for an XD player may not run effectively on a 1020. At any rate, I'm going to choose the HD 1020, and you can see that all BrightSign players are available here for you to select from, including older legacy models like our HD 1010, 810, 410, 210, and 110, the original X10 series. But the new HD players are here, the 120, 220, and 1020. Our XD players are also here, the XD 230, 1030, and 1230. I'm going to choose a 1020 for this project. I get to choose the video output connector that the player will send the project out. In my case, I'm going to use HDMI. And I choose the screen frame rate and resolution. There's quite a selection here to work from, and to a certain extent this depends on the monitor you intend to use. Not every monitor can show every frame rate, and so I might choose a frame rate here, for example 60p, 1920 by 1080 by 60p. My monitor might not be capable of that rate, and I could get errors on the screen. I'm going to choose something nice and safe, 720p. It's a 1280 by 720 by 5994p resolution in a landscape layout, and say Create. BrightAuthor next asks if I want to use one of the templates that we've prepared, or a template you might have saved in prior work. I generally just go with a full screen single zone template because I can always make changes. None of those decisions are permanent. Once those basic decisions are made, we're ready to begin building our project. It's worth noting that under Presentation Properties, I can remake some of these decisions. I can choose a different output, I can choose a different resolution. I also have access here under Presentation Properties to a very wide range of other settings that might be important to something that I plan to do with the player. All of these will be discussed in future, more advanced modules. For now, we're going to keep it simple, dealing with the main tab and basic settings. We'll continue in the next module.